is just something about spending days around the house right before a trip where you're trying to prepare everything and get things situated. So join me as I prepare things around our home and learn a couple of new tricks right before our trip. But first off is dinner, always dinner. I don't remember if I have shown this recipe before. I'm pretty sure I have, but if not, this is lasagna soup. This is such an easy go-to for us. We always have all the ingredients for this on hand. It is super simple. I'll have a rough recipe linked down below in the description box if you're interested and if you want to make it, but I'm just going to start by sauteing an onion in some butter, and I'm also adding mushrooms to this, not because I normally do, but because I'm trying to use up things in our fridge before we go away for a while. So I'm adding a whole bunch of mushrooms, but then after that I add some tomato paste, 2 cans of canned tomatoes. We really like the ones from Aldi where they're already pre-seasoned and everything. So we get all that in there, and then I add an entire package of sweet Italian sausage. This really makes a difference using an Italian sausage, and it just gives it a better flavor. So I do all 4 of these sausage links. I just take them out of the casing, let them brown up, and then again the tomato paste, 2 cans of tomatoes, and then I add a ton of broth. I'm just using up some beef broth that I had in the fridge, and then I let that simmer, come to a slight boil, and then I add some crushed up sheets of lasagna. You can use regular noodles, it doesn't matter, but if you want it to be a true lasagna soup, you can use some crushed up sheets of lasagna noodles, and then you have a really tasty soup that you can add ricotta cheese on top of, and then a little bit of Parmesan or mozzarella right before you serve it, and it is so good. One of my projects lately that I have really been into is sewing. I have so much sewing content coming, so if you are excited to see that, just wait. We have a lot of sewing stuff happening. I've really gotten into sewing. I've really gotten used to using this old machine. If I haven't talked about it in the past, I got it for free last year off of Facebook, and it is from, I think, the 60s or 70s. It's super old, but it works really great. It's like all metal, it's super heavy, but it's simple, and I think it's really great for someone like myself who is just learning to use on a very basic machine like this. And I'm making some little dog, and I eventually make in the later half of this video, little dog and cat collars. I made one for my cat a while ago. I showed you guys that in a video, and after I figured out how to do it better, I remade it because I realized what I had made was not that good. So I just made one super simple, super easy for my cat and my dog. I didn't even use a pattern or anything. I just used an old dog bandana that I had for our dog, traced it basically on this fabric, and then sewed it up. It was super easy, a very easy beginner sewing project. But once that is all set, I'm gonna go through my latest antique finds. I did post a short a little while ago explaining about my little antique trip that we had. If you are interested, you can go and watch that. But I found some Roseville pottery, which I love Roseville pottery. The crock that holds our wooden utensils is Roseville. And I found some Longaberger baskets. I always look for these baskets, and I found 2, so I decided to grab them, and I will use them for my plants. I love putting my plants in these baskets. The 2 baskets that I have here, not the kind of thinner looking one, but 2 of the other ones that I already had are Longaberger. I'd love to get another big one like I found that is over on the right, but with time I will find some more of those. But I'm just going through and watering all my plants because before we leave for a trip, I need to make sure everything is watered. That also includes everything outside too, but we will get to that in a little bit. But I just make sure everything is watered because these plants all hang out on top of the cabinets in my kitchen. and it gets pretty warm up there, so I want to make sure everything has water and is nice and hydrated before we leave for a couple of days. I keep a few extra plants in our sort of spare bedroom, and this string of hearts is killing me every single time I take it down. I look at it, I have transplanted it, it just looks sadder and sadder every single time I look at it. This used to be big and full and lush, and I don't know what happened to it, and it makes me so sad. And I'm going to give it a little bit more time and see if it can perk itself back up, but it might be time to just get another one. On our last trip, our Airbnb kind of had a weird odor to it. I noticed it as soon as we got in, and once we got home, all of our stuff smelled like that Airbnb. So when we got our suitcases and everything, I noticed they still had the smell, even though that was like 2 months ago. So I stuck everything outside overnight to air out. So that odor was no longer there, because that smell sticks to everything on our clothes. I remember coming home and my clothes just stank. I smelled weird. It just was an odd smell. So I stuck everything outside to air out before we have to pack. And a new little addition to our outside garden is some mint. I love fresh mint like this, so we ended up picking this up from a local greenhouse over the weekend, and I've added that to our porch garden. I wanted to just clean up out here a little bit. This isn't super essential, but we haven't been out here in a couple of days, probably more than a couple of days, probably closer to like a week, because as you can see from my outfit, it has still been cold. It is officially June, but it has still been cold. So if it's cold, we're typically not hanging out here, and it gets pretty windy up there as well. So we have not been out in a while, and I wanted to just tidy up and make things a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner before we head out for a couple of days. This also includes just watering everything, because even though it's been kind of rainy, things are still pretty dry. So I wanted to go through and give everything a super nice water. And all of my plants have been doing super well. I have not done a full update, but if you guys are interested, I can do a full walkthrough of my plants and how they're doing with being a porch garden and everything. I would love to do that if you all are interested, and I can really walk you guys through what I've done and what's doing well, including some tiny little mini strawberries. That has been the only thing we have gotten from this garden, is a handful of just tiny strawberries here and there. But super exciting news. I also just didn't know that potatoes could sprout like this. I didn't know that I would have green from my potatoes, but my potatoes are sprouting. They look great. I am so excited about that. that is so encouraging to see. I also have some sunflowers over here that have started to sprout up. The only thing that has not really grown quite at all are my impotens. There are 2 very, very tiny little green leaves. I don't even know if those are going to really be anything. But my cosmos look great. Everything else is looking wonderful and blooming and doing super well. And I'm excited to see what comes of it this summer. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. I make 2 new videos every single week on all things homemaking, sourdough, and country living. Thank you so much for stopping by our homestead and joining me today as I go through a day in the life of a homemaker as I'm preparing for us to be away for a little while. And I will see you in my next video.